Gotta love elite Joe Flacco. A little backstory about me, I'm a 23-year-old Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, meaning I haven't seen my team in the playoffs for a very long time. So as a teenager very into football, I wanted a team to root for in the playoffs. So typically the team I would choose would be Baltimore. I was a huge fan of guys like Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, and even Ray Rice, although we won't talk about him too much. But one of the real things that made the Baltimore Ravens so effective in that era was Joe Flacco. I often feel he doesn't get enough credit for how he performed in that Super Bowl run. I mean, he had 1,140 yards and 11 touchdowns to no interceptions. I mean, he was absolutely on fire, and you could debate that was the best playoff performance of all time. He won a Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP because of it. He was always good during the regular season and then great during the playoffs. However, the past 5 years or so, that hasn't really been the case. One of the things about the Ravens offense when they had Joe Flacco as quarterback was they loved to run play action. I mean, they still do love to run play action, but they did then as well. As you see on this play, Cincinnati's running a cover 3 zone, and Baltimore's going to send Michael Crabtree right there. It's a pretty simple play. I'm sure you guys already know how play action works, but I'll just break it down anyways. As you see, Flacco's going to fake the handoff, and this draws the linebackers in, therefore leaving a big gap in the middle of the field for Crabtree to get open. That ends up being exactly what happens. Flacco's able to hit Crabtree and able to pick up a first down. So, simple play, nothing really too complex there. However, there's a reason I'm showing this, and let's look at another play action play. As you see, that's what the coverage would look like if the Bengals were playing a cover 3 zone, and then the Ravens could simply just send a route to the middle of the screen, Flacco could hit him, and they could pick up a first down. Again, relatively simple and nothing too complex. However, look at what happens here. When I was watching the tape from this game, I noticed that Cincinnati actually made a very interesting adjustment. They did start to play a lot more man coverage, which isn't anything too out of the ordinary. I mean, plenty of teams will play man coverage more often or less often, depending on how the game is going. However, one other thing they did was they were often putting a shadow on Michael Crabtree, which is something you might think you wouldn't have to do. After all, Michael Crabtree isn't exactly the best receiver ever, while he still is very solid in my opinion. Some might say mediocre, and by some I mean Richard Sherman, but if you see on this play, this is exactly why having a man-on-man coverage on Michael Crabtree is a good situation for Cincinnati. So as you see, Crabtree isn't open on this play. Really, Flacco should have just taken a check down on this play, which is something I never thought I'd actually have to say, but instead, he's staring down Crabtree all the way. At this point, he should well know that this is not a throw that he should make. However, he's going to make the throw anyways. And even worse, it's a bad throw leading to an interception and setting up Cincinnati already inside the 20. That's one of the problems I've noticed with Joe Flacco. It's very Jared Goff-esque, in which he sees a play that should work on paper, and then that's what he's always trying to throw the ball. However, on a play like this, it wasn't going to work because there was a man-on-man coverage on Michael Crabtree. However, he still had it in his head that that was going to be the play that was going to work, and so he decided to throw it there anyways, even though he never should have. He should have thrown a check down and hoped that his running back could make a play to gain some yards, and even if that didn't work, he could have at least just thrown the ball away. However, this throw should have never been made, and it led to an interception. This next play is probably a better example of that. As you see, it's a cover 1 linebacker blitz, and these are the routes that the Ravens will be running. And if you look, the Ravens have 2 routes running towards the sideline, which is actually a great way to beat a cover 1 linebacker blitz. However, look at Flacco on this play. All he does is look up to the safety to see if there are in fact just one safety deep, and since it is, he's then going to instantly throw towards the sidelines. The only problem is that there still is one thing that has to happen for this play to work, and that's for that receiver to get open. However, the receiver couldn't win his one-on-one matchup, and it fell incomplete. I think this play really shows the intrigue with Joe Flacco and how interesting it could be to see him under a new coaching staff. Because this is the play that sometimes works, and sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of the definition of a 50-50 ball. If you have a Devontae Adams running that route, he can easily go up and make that catch. However, the Ravens don't have a Devontae Adams. They haven't had a really good receiver in a pretty long time. Now, the Broncos receiving core isn't necessarily the best receiving core out there, but they do have some more talented players than the Ravens did. I mean, they have Emmanuel Sanders, they have Cortland Sutton. Those are solid players, and of course they have Phillip Lindsay, who's a great running back and could really help Flacco in that play action game. And if those players can win their one-on-one matchups, his quick decision-making can come from a big negative to a big positive. Like, take a look at this play, for example. Flacco already knows this man coverage. By the way, there's 3 Broncos all in press coverage against 3 Ravens. It's not a guarantee that it's going to be man coverage. However, it gives you a pretty good idea that it could be. And as you see, it is in fact man coverage, and it's going to be a cover 1 linebacker blitz. If you take a look, those are the routes on the top half of the screen, and the one route in particular you're going to want to take a look at is the Baltimore Ravens halfback, as the Denver Broncos are going to have Von Miller be having to run after him. The running back was able to get the edge, get around Miller, and get into the end zone for what ended up being ruled a touchdown after a review. Again, I'm not saying Joe Flacco is a slam dunk. I'm not even saying he's better than Case Keenum. However, I do think that Joe Flacco has some talent there. I mean, he's not a garbage quarterback. He's just not a great quarterback. Under the right system, he absolutely can be successful, but he has to be in the right system, and who knows if that'll happen in Denver. I think the only problem I would have with this move, if I'm a Broncos fan, is Flacco's contract. I mean, a 4th round pick, you can give up a 4th round pick for a guy who has a chance of being a good quarterback. That's an easy decision. However, they're now currently set to pay about $37 million in cap space just in the quarterback position, despite not having a great quarterback. And while they'll certainly try to trade Keenum, if they can't find a trade partner, they're going to have to end up cutting him, which will leave $10 million in dead cap. And with other guys with higher potential still on the table, such as Foles, Bridgewater, and Fitzpatrick, this is a bit of a head-scratching move by the Broncos. I do understand the logic behind this move for the Broncos, and I don't think it's a complete disaster. I will be interested to see how it plays out. However, I don't think it's the move that I personally would have made. But hey, who knows? We've all been wrong before, and we'll have to see how it plays out. But that's just my opinion on the matter. I'm interested in hearing what you guys think. Do you think Flacco could end up being a good fit for the Broncos, or do you think this is just a bad decision all around?